Hello, everyone. We are so happy that you're here today with our monthly webinar. And we are switching the roles today. For the last couple of webinars, I have been the primary speaker. And today we're going to have Sarah speak today. And I'm super, super excited about this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our topic today is value based budgeting. This is really an important topic because when people speak about budgeting, they can do a traditional budget, which is kind of what everybody thinks about. Your income minus your expenses, what's left over, how do you allocate those dollars? But values based budget is a little bit different. And so I'm really excited for Sarah to tell you all about it.
Me too.
Okay, Sarah, my little advance button is not here now.
It's not there anymore.
It's not here.
Okay, I will drive.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so as you can see, we have a packed agenda today, a lot of different topics around values-based budgeting that we're going to share with you. Obviously, we'll introduce ourselves again. We want to talk about the marketing reality, fighting back with your values, why traditional budgeting fails, what is values-based budgeting, the three pillars, common values, identifying your values, the gap analysis, traditional versus values-based, a 24 action plan that you can put in place immediately, this week's challenges, some key takeaways, Q&A, and next steps. And I also wanted to mention for those of you that are watching, you can also put questions or you can put answers in the chat as we move along. Well, let's start with introductions. I am Melissa George, the founder and CEO of InvestHer Fiduciary Solutions. Been in the industry for quite some time, but I'm still a young person at heart and really, really love this industry. And I'm going to let Sarah introduce herself to you, and then I might have a few follow-up comments.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Sarah Martinez Hansen. I am a financial planning associate with InvestHer Fiduciary Solutions. I've been with Melissa since December 2023, and I am currently a graduate financial planning student at the University of Georgia. I'm switching careers from the digital marketing industry. I just kind of got burnt out with it, and I'm so excited about this new career in financial planning. And I'm just excited to graduate in December and just help as many people as I can. And another note that's not in here is that I'm an Air Force veteran. I served for 11 years. I did a tour in Afghanistan, and I got out in 2016. And I really do in the future want to help my fellow women veterans. So,
Okay, I could not have said it better, Sarah. I wanted to make sure that you talked about your military background, and thank you for your service. And I've been really, really blessed to have you with me at Investor since December, and I'm super, super excited about your upcoming graduation. You'll have a master's in financial planning. Super excited about that.
yeah,
Awesome.
me too. All right. Okay, so I just wanted to start off with a quick poll. So, have you ever created a budget that looked perfect on paper but felt impossible to stick to in real life? Whether it was too restrictive or you felt guilt if you went over in a certain category. Um, I feel like we've all done this where we've had a budget that we were ready to stick to, but then in practice, it was just really hard to. So, Melissa, have you ever done that?
Yes, I can remember during my earlier working years. As a matter of fact, when I got to where I would, write everything on paper, and here's what's coming in and here's what's going out, and it seemed like that last number at the bottom was a negative number.
Mhm.
So it's always like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Am I spending too much? Obviously, everyone says, hey, I just need to make more money.
Yeah.
But sometimes we make more money and then we increase our lifestyle to meet the same
Mhm.
that we have coming in. So yes, I have felt this in my past for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And if you have felt that way, put it in the chat how you felt about it. Um, so, but it happens to everyone. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I do have a master's in digital marketing and digital analytics. So I wanted to include this slide in here because we live in a marketing reality that is kind of concerning. So a little facts. So Americans are exposed to 4,000 to 10,000 ads daily. That is a big, big number. I mean, you're seeing ads on your TV, you're seeing them on your laptop, when you go to a web page, when you read a blog post, on your social media, definitely. So we are just inundated with ads every day. And so far in 2025, this year, companies have spent 456 billion on advertising, and we're not even done with this year yet. That is a crazy amount of money. And so that equals to 1,360 per person. So these companies are really, really trying to influence your spending. And so that's just something to be aware of. That's the reality that we live in. Melissa, what do you think of those numbers?
It surprised me. The first one, I know that we're constantly being hit with ads everywhere, right? Even when we're like just on a Facebook page or LinkedIn, there's some ad that's popping up at the bottom. I had no idea it was 4,000 to 10,000 a day. That's a lot.
It
Yeah,
is.
a lot.
It's concerning. So this next slide is going to give us some defenses. So how do we fight back? We fight back with our values. So here's 3 things that you can do to defend against the companies that are spending so much and trying to get so much of your spending dollars. You can pause before you purchase and ask yourself, does this align with my values? You can question the urgency. Do I need this now or am I being pressured? There's so much, if you haven't heard the term fear of missing out, FOMO, and that's how companies get you. It's definitely a marketing tactic. It's a scarcity marketing tactic. So they're trying to create scarcity of a product or a service so that you buy immediately because you don't want to miss out on that deal. You don't want to miss out on that product. I know people hate to see out of stock, but these are all tactics that companies are trying to use to pressure you into buying and spending your dollars. So just question the urgency. Do I need this now? And number 3, remember your mission. Will this help me live my values? So these are 3 key defenses that you can use against all the ads that you're seeing every day.
Sarah, can I ask you a question here?
Yes.
I really like number one. I know one of the things that I do sometimes when I'm wanting to spend money on something that I may not necessarily need is I think about my values and I'm comparing my value to this item that I'm thinking about purchasing. And I often ask myself, which one do I want more?
Right.
That's similar, right? I don't say it in the way that does this align with my values, but that's kind of the same thing. Do I want this more than the thing that is really important to me, right? And that does help me sometimes when I'm wanting to spend some
Right,
money.
definitely, just pausing. So yeah, definitely pause. Um, and I do a lot of, "Do I need this now?" Because I always get sucked into the urgency of it all. So I try to ask myself, "Okay, do I even need this now? No, I have that. It's still good. I can still use it." So
Yep.
yeah, I'm the same way. Okay, so why does traditional budgeting fail? So 80% of people abandon their budgets within 3 months because it focuses too much on restriction instead of alignment. It ignores your emotions and values, and it can create guilt and shame around your spending. Like I mentioned earlier, traditional budgeting has categories, and if you go over in that category, you could feel shame and guilt that you didn't stick to that number that you created in that category. So value-based budgeting is more of, okay, does this align versus it than the number. It focuses on the values versus the actual numbers. So that's why traditional budgeting fails, because it's just too restrictive on most people. Okay, so what is values based budgeting? So it's a financial planning approach that prioritizes spending based on your core values and life goals. So instead of asking, can I afford this? Do I have the money? Is the amount there? You ask yourself, does this align with my values? So it's a whole different kind of mindset shift. Instead of focusing on the numbers, like I said, you're focusing on your values. You're always coming back to those. So the three pillars of values based budgeting is clarity. So, first, you need to know what matters most to you. You have to kind of reflect on what are your values, and then alignment. And then, so alignment is spending your money that reflects your values, that reflects your priorities in life. And then, intentionality is making sure that every dollar in your budget has a purpose.
Sarah, can I ask, um, for me, and then also for anybody else that's watching, when we think about, what our values are, I wanted to see, can we share an example that would tell them or give them an idea of what do we mean when we say, what are my values and how am I aligning my spending to my values? Do you have an example? I mean, I probably can come up with one as
Yeah,
well.
I do have a slide for examples of common values. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we will definitely get to the examples if people are having issues coming up just, off the top of their head with their values. So definitely gonna give people some examples for sure. Here it is.
Yeah, perfect segue.
Yes. So here is an examples of common values. So um, the top kind of like this one, security and stability, you have that main common value. And then you have kind of examples of what that would mean as far as spending. Um, so for me personally, I would think my top are probably for sure family, health and
Mhm.
wellness, and then growth and learning. So those would be my top 3 values, and then, like, for an example of what I would spend my money on is a gym membership. So I've always had a gym membership because one of my top values is health and wellness. So, I mean, that's how, I kinda base my spending on, but, I'm interested in Melissa, what do you resonate with on what do you resonate with on here?
I'm glad you brought this up because obviously there's an age gap between us. And so I think about these where people are in their life cycle. So I'm older than you. And so health and wellness is probably at the top of
Mhm.
mine. Um, I'm an older woman, and I think as I think about the aging process, health and wellness is really important to me because most women end up as solo retirees. Either their spouses have passed away or they were divorced earlier on. They're single. I know I'm single. I don't have children, and so um, how I age, meaning that I want to have as much mobility as possible. I don't want, to have to be sequestered or somebody else has to come and take care of me and do things for me. So health and wellness is at the top of mine because I can see retirement is closer to me than it is to you. Security and stability, right? So I do think about my retirement savings, not carrying a lot of debt, definitely always having an emergency reserve fund. And then I would also, well, I'm a growth and learning person
Mhm.
too, and you and I are both kind of lifetime learners. So I'm in school as well. I'm always wanting to learn something new. But I do also think about traveling. My bucket list, places that I haven't gone, and still wanting to go to those places while I'm still healthy,
Right.
where I can be there. And the last one is, I could kind of touch all of them, but, I am involved in a nonprofit and it's important to me to give back to my community, to, mentor people. So I can see how for both of us, there's a little bit of a
Mhm.
shift, but, people may have some values in each of these areas. So I'm really glad that you shared this with us.
Definitely. Yes, of course. I need to give people examples. So, like I said, they're not just coming up with it on, because it can be hard to come up with it on the fly. You kind of need some examples to kind of get your mind flowing to get get some ideas.
Sarah, would you say, I think this is another great question here too. Would you say that when you're working with a client or when before you actually create a values based budget, if you look at their spending, if you take their spending for a month or
Hmm.
two, you kind of get an idea of what their
Oh yeah.
values are because you kind of see where they're putting
Oh
their
yeah.
money, right?
Definitely. Yes. I think you can get a good sense of what people value based on what they're spending on their budget. Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you sometimes find that where what they say is important to them and where they're spending their money are completely unaligned or out of alignment?
I think it's 50-50. I think, some people do really try to stick to what they believe in, what their values are, and what they're trying to achieve in life, and other people
Okay.
are just, checking the box, "I have my budget," but they're completely not sticking to it. So,
Okay. Okay.
um, okay, so little exercise here. So think of a recent purchase that made you genuinely happy weeks later, years later, days later, and what value did that purchase represent? So for me, I always think of my Sleep Number bed. I think I purchased my first Sleep Number bed back in 2016, and I upgraded it 3 years ago. But I have been happy years later with that purchase because it aligns with my value of health and wellness, and it aligns with getting good sleep, good quality sleep, because to me, good quality sleep sets you up for, good mental health, physical health. I mean, it helps your brain power. It's just so important. Sleep is just so important. So having that purchase of a good, really good bed has still brought me joy to this day. Right.
I'll share something that I bought recently, maybe in the last 2 or 3 months. And you may have seen it in those four to $10,000, 10,000 ads on Facebook. I bought, it looks like a sleeping bed, but it's actually an infrared sauna.
Okay.
So I bought one of those because I was thinking I don't have the space or really want to spend that kind of money building a sauna in my
Right.
house. And I'm like, cool way to get the same benefits of a sauna without having to do all that. So I bought it. You can lay it out on the bed. You get into it. It has the remote control thing and it tells you how long you should start off and you kind of build up. But to me, that's also part of the health and
Right.
wellness, right? Sweating out toxins and being able to do it at my leisure anytime I want in my
Mhm.
house. Um, so that is one that has made me genuinely happy. And I think that I'll have that for years to come.
Awesome. Yeah, don't even get me started on toxins that are in our body. That could be another webinar, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, so identifying your top 3 values. So if you're watching the recording, I would definitely recommend going back to the slide that had the examples of common values and kind of start getting a sense of what you resonate with. So identifying your top 3 values. So what matters most to you right now? So we all go through different seasons in life, and like Melissa mentioned, even me and her with our age gap, we have different values right now. So, but that can always change, but just for, if you're going to be identifying your top 3 values, make sure it's what matters most to you right now. And then another way to help you identify your top 3 values is, what do you get upset about when it's threatened? So for me, like I said, sleep is so important. So when my sleep is threatened, I am not a tolerable person to be around. So if so I definitely align my values with sleep, or with getting good sleep. So, and then write them down in order of priority. So, me and Melissa had, different priorities, a different priority list. So, family was the top of mine, and then health and wellness, and then growth, and then you had a different order. So, once you've identified them, write them down in the order of priority. And then once you have them written down, or if you're having trouble trying to identify which um, values maybe is number two versus number one, you can use this values ranking exercise to kind of help you determine which one should be at number one or number two or number three. So this is comparing financial security and time freedom values. So you can ask yourself, do you want more financial security but less time freedom? Or do you want more time freedom and you can take a little bit less financial security? So this is just a way for you to kind of start thinking of, okay, and helping you prioritize those different values that you've identified as your top values. Okay, the gap analysis. So how does your actual spending align with your top three values? So the 80/20 rule is a good rule to live by as far as the values spending. So with the 80/20 rule, 80% of your discretionary spending, which just want to, define that discretionary spending is the money you have left over after you've paid your fixed monthly expenses. So your rent, your mortgage, all those utilities, stuff like that, those are your fixed monthly expenses. So once you have paid those off, then what's left over is your discretionary spending. And that's where your value spending comes in. 80% of your discretionary spending should align with your top three values. And then you have 20% that is just pure enjoyment and exploration. So that's the 20% where, okay, you really just can't miss out on this sale. So you're going to buy it. And, it might not align with your values, but it made you happy in the moment. So, or, your kids are nagging you. And so you go out and get ice cream just to have a good time. So that is kind of the 80/20 rule.
I love it.
Okay, so traditional versus values-based. So traditional, I mentioned earlier, traditional has a lot of categories, and it's very, as you can see, there's numbers attached to these categories, which is fine. Traditional budgeting does work for some people, but this is all about just an alternative. Values-based is an alternative method if you find yourself you're not sticking to traditional budgeting. Values-based is another way you could possibly budget. So, as like I said, we have these traditional categories with the amounts attached to them. And then with values-based budgeting, you have your values buckets. So once you've identified your top three values, you put them on your budget. So for example, this one has the growth fund, family fund, security fund. And so those three are 80% of your budget, of your discretionary spending. And then the joy fund is that 20% of, you know, whatever your little heart desires. So that's kind of the difference between traditional and values based.
I like the name Joy Fund. It sounds like the instant gratification
Exactly.
fund.
And that's what it is. And that's what it is. But then again, make sure it's only 20%. Try and stick to that.
And it's 20% of my discretionary spending, not 20% of my entire
Correct.
budget.
Yes, that's another important point. Okay, so your 24-hour action plan. So 3 tasks for you. We got you. If you can go ahead in the next 24 hours, identify your top 3 values. And like I said, if you're watching this recording, you can go back to that examples of common values slide and kind of get an idea of what your values could be. And then start tracking your values-based spending for 1 week. Now, we have a surprise at the end. We do have a template that we can send you for tracking your spending. And then score your alignment. So, are you one is being off track, you're not spending anywhere near your values, and to 10 being you're aligned with your values. You're spending everything that you're spending in your discretionary is aligned with your top 3 values. And that is also in the template that we can provide you at the end.
I think I'm going to do this exercise.
And then here's a week's challenge. So this week's challenge, make one spending decision based purely on your values rather than convenience or habit. And just notice how it feels different. It's going to feel different than that ad getting you and you made that purchase. If you make a purchase based on your values, you go to the farmer's market and you buy fresh vegetables from a local farmer versus buying it at the grocery store. Just notice how that feels different. So that's my challenge to you for this week. Are you going to try and do that, Melissa?
You got me thinking about something that I do, particularly if I'm on Facebook where I'm getting all these ads, right? I never buy anything right then, but I'll save those different ads. Sometimes I'll save them. And so, Facebook has a whole area where you can go back and look at them later, videos or whatever. To do that this morning, I was looking through, and sometimes there's stuff I put in there. It's like, I don't know why I saved that, and I'll get rid of it, right? But I did buy something this morning from an ad I had been seeing on and on and on, and it is part of the health and wellness values that I purchased this morning because I was like, I kept seeing this ad over and over again, and I had saved the video and I watched it and I went to the site and I looked, and I did make my purchase today, but it is 100% aligned with my values. Now, most people don't know this. You know this. I had surgery almost 2 weeks ago, and so I'm on one leg. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is find ways to continue my health and wellness journey when I have limited mobility. So this item that I bought was a way for me to do some upper body exercises without my lower body. So again, it was still trying to stay in line. I can't go out and do all the things I did before until I've recovered, but I still want to be able to do things to help maintain my health. So that's what it made me think about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's great that you purchased that and you're still trying to be active, even, with not being mobile as much as you want to be. So I give you much props.
Okay. It did feel different too. It did feel different. I don't know if I would have bought it at the same time if I hadn't had my surgery. I don't know if I still would have bought it.
Right.
But now, okay, well, this will be something great to still have even once I have regained my mobility that I could still use, but it's something I can use now.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. Okay, some key takeaways. If you don't, if you haven't heard anything we've said, the 3 takeaways. So values-based budgeting creates sustainable habits. Because you're spending based on your values, your life goals, what you want to achieve. And like Melissa mentioned, it can just feel good to have a values-based purchase versus a traditional budgeting purchase. So that makes it sustainable in life. Alignment reduces money stress and increases satisfaction. Again, you feel good when you make a purchase based on your values and your life goals. And there's not as much stress because as long as it hits that value bucket, there's no amount attached to it that kind of creates that anxiety that, oh, if I go under, if I go over. A lot of us want to hit that number exactly, and that's not realistic. So this kind of method reduces that stress and anxiety when it comes to spending. And then your values are your financial North Star. And I think that's true in everything, not just budgeting. Just always think about what you want to achieve in life, what you value in life. I just think that's always a good way to kind of navigate life and your finances. So,
Awesome.
okay, so Q&As, I don't think we have any, right, Melissa?
I don't see I don't see any on
Okay, just
Facebook.
want to make sure we don't miss anybody's questions.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so next steps. So here's that values-based budgeting template that I was talking about. So if this resonated with you, if you feel like you want to give it a try, your traditional budgeting isn't working, you're feeling stressed, well, you can give this values-based budgeting a try, even if it's just for a week. A month would be ideal, but even if it's just for a week, we have a free values-based budgeting template that you can get. You just need to email us at info@investherfs.com. And then always we offer a free 30-minute initial consultation with either myself or Melissa. This link right here is to my calendar, but if you go on the website, Melissa's calendar's on the first page, so her link to her calendar is on the first page. But that's something that we offer, and it doesn't have to be on budgeting. It can be on other financial planning topics. What are some other examples, Melissa, of what they can get a free consultation for?
Uh, well, one thing that I often think is helpful, people that have either investment accounts or insurance policies, and maybe they want someone to review those
Mm,
policies, right? Or look at their investment portfolio, and they just want a second opinion. So we do that very, very often. If people are having some life changes that they are needing some financial advice about, if they've left a job, they're looking to take on another job, they are looking to consolidate. They have 401ks at old employers that they never moved. They want to open a Roth IRA. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we can provide for them. So yes, it's not just the value-based
mhm.
budgeting, but we so much more.
Yes. And then we do have additional resources on our website. We have financial calculators, we have blog posts, industry news, and then other resources that could be helpful to you. So just come to our website, check it out, browse, and see what you can find. And that is it for this values-based budgeting webinar. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for watching. And you can
Yes.
always contact us if you have any questions, if you want that template, or if you want that 30-minute free consultation. Thank you all so
Awesome.
much. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.